We knew the renewal had happened because they briefed it to People magazine in America. Initially, there was this view, certainly taken by the Beckhams, that hang on, they're being quite classy here. They're not going to release any pictures. They're not going to actually like rub anyone's noses in it. They've released their wedding vows, and that's it.
The photos of the vow renewal land.
We just see this like barrage of photos on their Instagrams.
But I mean, the Beckhams aren't there.
It was like, whoa, nobody expected this. In fact, the Beckhams described it themselves as an onslaught.
Because Brooklyn has basically just, in so many words, said, "You are no longer a part of my marriage or my life."
He skipped his father's knighthood and erased his family from his wedding. Brooklyn Beckham didn't just burn bridges, he bulldozed them. Today, we uncover how a fashion feud exploded into full-on family exile and why Brooklyn may never return. Is this just a young couple standing their ground or a case of manipulation and control? Let us know. Is Brooklyn lost, loyal, or brainwashed? The vow renewal was supposed to be quiet. That's how it was framed. A brief mention in People magazine, no fuss, no family drama. But then the photos hit. Picture after picture, not a single Beckham in sight. Nicola's family beaming, Brooklyn smiling. David and Victoria deleted. And not accidentally. It was calculated. A curated rollout of images like a campaign. A statement dressed up as celebration. The kind that doesn't whisper distance, it shouts it. The vow renewal wasn't just a ceremony, it was a reset, a signal to the world that Brooklyn had crossed the line and wasn't looking back. That 9-day silence before the photos, that was the countdown to emotional detonation. It wasn't a wedding, it was a warning.
David and Victoria were furious in May when Brooklyn did not wish his grandfather, Tony, a happy birthday. That's Victoria's father. We then had the same conversations about Sandra Beckham, David's mum, because again, she's another member of the family that's done nothing wrong here, very, innocent party. So they were, of course, like anxious that the same was going to happen. But no, Brooklyn, he came out the stops and he wished his grandmother a happy birthday. Again, nice for Sandra, relief for Sandra, relief for everybody around. But actually, again, it's like, guys, you've not got the best reputation at the moment. So, and that was very much what the Beckham view of it was.
After David's 50th birthday celebrations, where Brooklyn didn't attend any of them, we started to see the feud shift focus away from David and Victoria and on to Brooklyn's younger brothers, 20-year-old Cruz and 22-year-old Romeo.
What they're trying to do, what Nicola and Brooklyn are trying to do is put out there that Brooklyn had a really unhappy child. There's no detail, there's nothing, it's like, no, actually, it's your, they're now kind of, firing shots at David and Victoria for being bad parents.
Birthdays used to be sacred. Brooklyn was always the first to post, the first to hug, the first to show up. But this year, he went silent. No words for his grandfather, none for his dad's 50th. And when he finally acknowledged his grandmother, it felt more like damage control than love. Behind the scenes, it was worse. Victoria and David weren't just sad, they were blindsided. Then came whispers. Brooklyn and Nicola were telling people he had a difficult childhood. No details, just blame. The implication? David and Victoria weren't good parents. But those close to the family say otherwise. This wasn't a rebellious phase. It was a calculated pivot. Brooklyn wasn't distancing himself, he was redefining himself. And part of that meant burning the narrative of his past to the ground. Silence wasn't neglect, it was strategy.
In May, whispers began that there was a feud directly between Cruz, 20-year-old Cruz, and Brooklyn. So Cruz had been apparently calling up all of the family's usual restaurants and asking whether Brooklyn was going to be there on the night that he was intending an event. And so he would call and say, is Brooklyn going to be there? And would also ask the staff to let him know if his older brother was going to be in attendance and therefore he wouldn't go. And this is the first time we've sort of started to see a direct argument between the two brothers. It was also revealed in May that there had been a long-standing, bubbling argument going on between Romeo and Brooklyn. They'd been incredibly close when they were children. Cruz, who's a budding musician, shared his new song on Instagram, and everyone piled in the comment section, as they like to do to the Beckham children, calling him a nepo baby, etc., which Cruz ignored. But there was one particular comment which he picked up on, and that was when someone said, "Are you going to stick with this job, or are you going to become a race car driver next or something?" Cruz then deflects the criticism onto his brother Brooklyn and says, "Wrong brother, mate." So now you've got this sort of catfight between the brothers coming to the surface within the social media comments.
They've now blocked Brooklyn, the pair of them, according to Brooklyn's publicists.
Romeo and Cruz tried to stay out of it at first, but when you start calling restaurants to avoid your brother, the feud isn't private anymore. Cruz reportedly phoned ahead before events just to make sure Brooklyn wouldn't be there. Romeo, once Brooklyn's closest ally, now won't even mention his name. And when a TikTok user mocked Cruz for jumping careers, his reply, "Wrong brother, mate. No denial. Just the shots. Public, petty, and piercing." Brooklyn and Nicola reportedly blocked both brothers after this. Or maybe Cruz and Romeo blocked them first. It doesn't matter. In Gen Z terms, that's the nuclear option. From childhood teammates to internet enemies. The fallout is raw, digital, permanent. And now the Beckhams don't just feel like they've lost a son. They're watching their kids lose each other too. When brothers block each other, something is truly broken.
So July comes around and the third sibling takes center stage, that being Harper. It was her 14th birthday coming up, and if Brooklyn was going to ignore that, that would be the final straw for the Becks, particularly for Romeo and Cruz, who are incredibly protective over her. So the big day rolls around, and Brooklyn does indeed wish her a happy birthday, but it's incredibly pointed and obviously very crafted. So what you have here is a simple picture of Brooklyn, Harper, and he's made sure to get Nicola in the picture as well, so that there's no question towards his alliances in this whole scenario.
Does anybody in the Beckham actually really understand why they've fallen out with Brooklyn?
I think Victoria knows. I think Victoria definitely knows. So Brooklyn and Nicola got together in October 2019, and by the beginning of 2020 it was lockdown. So Brooklyn moved to America. He spent lockdown with Nicola, and at that point, that's when things really changed between them.
The Harper post was supposed to be healing, but it was anything but. Yes, Brooklyn wished his youngest sister a happy birthday, but only with Nicola in the photo. That wasn't a tribute, it was a tactic. Harper used to idolize her big brother. He was more than a sibling. He was a third parent while David was away. And Nicola, she played the perfect big sister act until now. What looked like a warm gesture was a calculated move. Even David and Victoria knew it. The birthday wish wasn't for Harper. It was for optics. Worse still, that post led to a social media Cold War. Brooklyn and Nicola unfollowed Cruz and Romeo. Or maybe it was the other way around. Either way, lines were drawn, not just in family life, but in public feeds. This birthday didn't heal the rift, it deepened it.
The fact that Brooklyn and Nicola had, on the 2nd of August, renewed their vows completely, with Nicola's 86-year-old dad, Nelson, being the officiator of the whole thing. These pictures come out, and they're very glamorous. They're of Nicola in her mum's repurposed wedding dress, Brooklyn looking very happy. It's all very, very romantic.
Yeah, so we had Nelson officiating, which again, I don't know. I mean, I know it's not an official wedding ceremony, but Nelson Peltz is a billionaire businessman. I can't imagine he's ever taken a role like that before.
Back in 2022, with Brooklyn and Nicola's initial wedding at her dad's Palm Springs mansion,
there was a huge fallout at the wedding in 2022 about what dress Nicola was going to wear, and she ended up wearing Valentino. And did that put Victoria's nose out of joint? Victoria said she didn't have time to make it, but it was the centre of one of the parts of this feud. And so it was just like, oh, here I am in this dress. And it was, again, so there to rub Victoria's nose in it.
August 2, 2025. That's the day Brooklyn Beckham officially cut the cord. The vow renewal wasn't about love. It was a declaration. Nicola's billionaire father officiated. Nicola wore her mother's vintage dress, again rejecting Victoria's designs. The symbolism? Brutal. No Beckhams invited, not even the grandparents who helped raise Brooklyn. And the photos? Deliberately chosen, meticulously staged, relentlessly shared. It was history rewritten with a new cast. The final image? Nicola with her entire family lined up, smiling. David and Victoria weren't just excluded, they were erased. And for the fashion world watching, it was the dress that screamed loudest. The same rejection that started the feud in 2022 now bookended it in 2025. This wasn't a ceremony, it was closure with no return ticket. This family wasn't perfect, but they were united until one decision, one relationship changed everything. Brooklyn didn't just leave, he replaced. He didn't just stay silent, he spoke volumes in who he didn't invite, what he didn't post, and where he didn't show up. The Beckhams are grieving not a death, but an absence. One so loud, it echoes in every photo, every like, every absence. Maybe time heals, maybe not. But right now, Brooklyn Beckham lives in a different orbit, and the gravity of love might not be enough to pull him back.